From secret military bases to thousands of mummified penguins, here are 9 mysterious things found in Antarctica. Number 9. Secret Nazi Base. As the Nazis gained power during the late 1930s, they sent an expedition to Antarctica to survey the area and claim part of it for themselves. One of their goals was to find alternatives to oil and fat-based products like butter, milk, cream, lard, bacon, margarine, and candles, so they were prepared if Germany was cut off from imports during the war. Whale oil was a main ingredient of margarine at the time, so the Nazis figured it would be a potentially valuable resource. Until then, they had been buying whale oil from Norway, but they didn't want to give the country their business, so they built whaling ships and headed south towards Antarctica. The voyage set out in December 1938 and traveled towards an area now called Dronning Modland, on the ship MS Schwabenland. But Norway beat the Germans to the site by about a month, and in early 1939, Norway claimed ownership of the region. Of course, the Nazis disputed this, and in August of that year, they named the area New Schwabenland after the expedition ship. They had 2 future voyages planned, but neither came to fruition during the escalating warfare between the Allies and the Axis powers. It's believed that the Germans planned to build a base in Antarctica, but this never happened, despite rumors to the contrary about a secret military facility called Base 22. The Nazis' claim to Antarctica was abandoned in 1945, and there are no signs that they traveled there after their initial expedition. But their decision to travel there reflected a little-known part of the World War II history that could have had a much different outcome. Number 8. Buried Mountains. In 2010, scientists revealed the existence of a massive mountain range hidden beneath the Antarctic ice, known as the Gomberstev Mountains. The peaks rise to over 8,000 feet and are buried beneath a layer of ice over a mile thick to the continent's eastern interior region. Russian scientists discovered the 750-mile range over a half-century earlier, but satellite images captured in recent years revealed the mountains in greater detail. The newer findings, which cover an area roughly the size of New York State, are like going from using a big, fat Sharpie to using a fine-tipped pencil, in the words of senior research scientist Robert Bell, who spoke with Live Science. These updated images expose a dramatic, rocky landscape filled with deep river valleys and liquid lakes. The mountain range is covered by a 6 million square mile layer of ice called the East Antarctic Ice Sheet. This poses important questions regarding the ice's potential to melt, as well as why and how the Gombertsev Mountains emerged in the first place. Scientists reported in 2011 that they were making headway in solving these mysteries. The Gombertsev Mountains resemble the Alps, suggesting that they're fairly old, yet their steep, rugged shape more closely resembles a young mountain range. Researchers detected magnetic anomalies similar to those found in 1-billion-year-old rocks nearby, implying that the mountain's origins date back to around the same time, when continents and subcontinents collided. Evidence further show that rifting events likely triggered the uplift of the range between 250 million and 100 million years ago. Solving the next piece of the puzzle will involve drilling through the ice and into the mountains to collect samples for data analysis. Number 7. Future plant life? Around 90 million years ago, during the age of the dinosaurs, West Antarctica was a lush, temperate rainforest that stood in stark contrast to its current barren and frozen landscape. Significantly lacking ice coverage, the continent had an annual mean temperature of 54 degrees Fahrenheit, and wildlife thrived, despite the annual 4 months of darkness that the continent undergoes. At the time, the world was experiencing its warmest climate in the past 140 million years. As today's world endures rapid climate change, experts are exploring the possibility that plants and insects could once again thrive in Antarctica. Professor Ian Hayes, an expert on Antarctic aquatic ecosystems, told Stuff that Antarctica's warmest areas are starting to merge with the coldest parts of the subantarctic, which he says is much more diverse when it comes to mosses, lichens, and flowering plants. Hayes explained the organisms have a much better chance of surviving their journey toward Antarctica as global temperatures rise. He said to expect to see life forms like plants and small invertebrates to appear on the continent first. Rodents would possibly come next, although it would take a long time for them to arrive after the most primitive organisms emerged. Some fish and crabs are already migrating southward towards Antarctica, while the climate is slowly becoming more hospitable to outsiders. It threatens to snuff out rare and fragile creatures that are found nowhere else on Earth. Scientists are still discovering new habitats throughout Antarctica, and they worry that any life forms within these environments will be wiped out before we ever even know about them. Number 6. Questionable cave entrance. You can always count on overly ambitious and imaginative Google Earth users to point out anything they think may represent a secret facility, an undiscovered archaeological site, or evidence of an extraterrestrial presence on Earth. Late last year, these internet sleuths called attention to what appeared to be an unidentified cave entrance on a remote Antarctic island, which allegedly first appeared in 2007. The door disappeared from Google Earth around 6 months after it was first spotted on Greenwich Island, fueling already rampant suspicions that the government of some country was hiding a secret. Conspiracy theories abounded, including allegations ranging from the possible existence of a top-secret military base to evidence of a lost ancient civilization, which the authorities might be trying to hide at all costs. Perhaps the most outrageous among these theories is the idea that the alleged secret portal leads to a so-called hollow Earth. The cave appeared to measure roughly 249 feet wide and 74 feet high, big enough to potentially fit hundreds or even thousands of people inside. Blake and Brett Cousins, who co-host the Third Phase from the Moon YouTube channel, speculated that perhaps a natural event such as a snowslide or climate change exposed and/or concealed the cave. They even went as far as suggesting that a rock formation outside the cave is a deliberately constructed staircase to its entrance. Naturally, everyone wanted to contribute to their 2 cents, especially those who are skeptical of modern science. Since the story broke, however, the so-called cave entrance has failed to regain the attention of international headlines. What do you think the hole was? A secret base? An ancient cave? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe button if you haven't already. Number 5. Doomsday Glacier. Antarctic ice sinks at a constant frequency of 5 Hz, according to a 2018 study analyzing 2 years' worth of seismic recordings on the Ross Ice Shelf. The humming noise, which cannot be heard by the human ear, is caused by regional and local winds and is affected by surface snow, ice, storms shifting the position of the dunes, and excessive melting, says Live Science. Scientists discovered the noise unexpectedly between 2014 and 2017 after installing seismic monitors on the ice shelf for other purposes. Upon reviewing the data, they realized that the active winds blowing over the uneven Antarctic surface caused near-constant vibrations in the uppermost layer of the snow, collectively known as a seismic hum. Study author Julien Chaput described the phenomenon as sounding like someone constantly playing a flute. Certain conditions, including dune-altering storms and warming events, can cause subtle changes in the seismic hum. But tracking the ice shelf's song, scientists may be able to monitor important changes in the surface ice, and they may even be able to develop a warning system for if and when the Ross Ice Shelf becomes vulnerable to collapse. Number 4. A lost city? At certain times in the distant past, Antarctica was mostly or entirely ice-free. During the Cretaceous period, around 90 million years ago, amid a severe episode of global warming, the southerly continent hosted dense plant life that was adapted to surviving through 4 months of annual darkness. The idea that prehistoric humans lived in Antarctica is far-fetched, but many conspiracy theorists cling to this notion, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. One popular theory, known as crustal displacement, claims that parts of Antarctica were ice-free as recently as 12,000 years ago, and that humans may have lived there before the onset of the last ice age wiped them out. This idea laid the groundwork for the even more outrageous claim that the fabled lost city of Atlantis was located in Antarctica, even though modern experts largely reject the idea that it even existed to begin with. Photos taken during NASA's Operation Icebridge project in 2016 show what armchair experts believe are the ruins of an ancient city. Around the same time, a video that an alleged missing camera crew left behind in 2002 showed the supposed remains of a prehistoric human settlement on the continent. Not surprisingly, the video conspicuously lacks credible, traceable sources, which only gave way to even more incredulous rumors about government cover-ups and Nazi claims to Antarctic territory. Wild stories like this leave someone with 2 choices: to either hop aboard the pseudo-archaeology train or to err on the side of more factual, albeit less exciting, claims. Number 3. Mummified penguins. While working at Cape Irizar on the Scott coast of the Ross Sea in 2016, Ornithologist, bird expert, Stephen Emsley discovered dozens of dead penguins, including some that were long deceased and even mummified. Emsley was visiting the site after rumors of guano, bird poop, stains in the area. Despite no known penguin colonies, piqued his interest. He noticed the guano stains soon after arriving and found the penguin carcasses shortly thereafter. The corpses consisted mainly of chicks and were of the Adelie penguin species, which lives in nests built from pebbles along the coastline. Emsley took samples of some of the remains for radiocarbon analysis to determine their age. He was under the impression that some of the bodies were fresh, but the result revealed that some of the dead penguins were between 800 and 5,000 years old. They were preserved by the ice, which had only recently melted due to climate change and revealed the long-dead colony. Emsley found that there were 3 distinct periods of penguin occupation at the site. The first was sometime between 5,146 and 2,750 years ago. The second lasted from 2,340 years ago to 1,375 years ago, and the third dates back between 1,100 and 800 years ago. He believes that the most recent colony fled during the 14th century amid the onset of a period known as the Little Ice Age. Unfortunately, ice and snow blocked the birds from reaching the ocean. It appears as though no penguin colonies have nested at the site in quite some time, but this could change in the near future, according to penguin ecologist David Ainley, who told the New York Times that as global temperatures rise, small flocks of adelies are spotted wandering in the area increasingly frequently, and they are even occasionally seen nesting there. Number 2. Pyramids. In 2016, images of what seemed like man-made pyramids in Antarctica's Ellsworth Range went viral, sparking rumors that an ancient civilization built the structures around 100 million years ago, long before the earliest known human ancestors emerged into existence. These alleged human-crafted pyramids are around 4,000 feet tall, roughly 10 times the height of the Great Pyramid of Giza. These claims appear to have originated on a website called Earth, We Are One, which credits a photo from 1935 as evidence that a prehistoric society built the structure way before even our most distant evolutionary relatives walked the planet. Citing credible evidence of previous plant and bacterial life on Antarctica, Earth We Are One guided its followers on a woefully misleading path that suggests the ancient vegetation is a direct indicator of having past human residence. But the existence of plants and bacteria does not necessarily mean that people once populated Antarctica. Much to the dismay of over-imaginative conspiracy theorists the world over, it turns out that pyramidal peaked structures, in other words, natural formations that look like man-made pyramids, are a common feature of glaciated regions, formed from multiple ice sheets converging. They're entirely a product of the Earth's geological forces. And number 1, Antarctic polynya. The amount of ice in the Antarctic region waxes and wanes in accordance with the seasons. In a phenomenon known as polynya, chunks of ice that are sometimes as big as the United States go missing from the ice pack. This happened in 2017, when a hole roughly the size of Ireland formed during the continent's coldest months, when ice is at its thickest. Known as the Maud-Rise polynya, it's located in a difficult-to-access part of Antarctica's Lazarev Sea. In an effort to get to the bottom of how and why the hole formed, experts relied on satellite observations and previous data. They concluded that a combination of cyclones and strong winds created the polynya by causing pack ice to shift in opposed directions. The Maud-Rise polynya was the size of Connecticut when scientists began monitoring it. It expanded by over 740% over the following month and eventually merged with the open ocean. Before the 2017 observations, researchers only knew of polynyas happening in Antarctica as recently as the 1970s amid the advent of satellite technology. They were baffled by the phenomenon. Study leader Diana Francis explained that mid-sea polynyas can impact the climate both regionally and globally and can interfere with ocean circulation. She predicted an increase in the frequency of polynyas due to climate change, citing the established connection between polynyas and cyclones. Past studies show that polar cyclonic activities tend to intensify in warmer climates, making the changing condition conducive to the creation of polynyas. Other studies have bolstered Francis's theory that climate anomalies in the southern hemisphere intensify the conditions under which polynyas form, but scientists are admittedly still trying to understand this rare phenomenon. Thanks for watching. Which of these mysterious discoveries do you think is the most interesting? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you on the next one.